Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 16 of the Good Guy Drinks Whisky. My name is Tim, of course, and today I've got a very special guest. I've got Vin from No Nonsense Whisky. You'll obviously recognize him from his YouTube whiskey review channel, No Nonsense Whisky. So with that, let's invite him on to chat. As always, the idea is we'll share three drams, and the interesting thing about that is when I sent you my list of 70 plus open bottles, you didn't find any that you had, but the one that you actually mentioned, you might have missed on the list. You have the Deanston 18, right?
Yeah, I did have a quick scan and I didn't see any doubles, but yeah, I do have that, so that's
Yes.
good.
So we've got one. We've got one in common. And then
Yeah.
you are going to go with your Ardbeg choice, which is
I have the wee beastie.
yes, and I'm gonna be going with the standard 10-year-old, so we'll have a little bit of a difference there, but that should still be fine. And then you're gonna go with the Ledaig 18. Oh, that's
Yeah.
which release is that?
This is the batch three.
Batch three. All right, so I've got the
Yeah.
standard, entry level Ledaig 10. So our experience will be a little bit different on those two bottles, but we'll still talk about it a little bit in those respective distilleries.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, I couldn't believe it when you sent me a list of like 70 plus bottles. I've got 100 open, and we
Yeah.
had like almost zero overlap. But that's
Yeah.
that's the wonderful thing about whiskey, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and but the interesting thing is that now as you're progressing in your whiskey reviewing career, we'll call it. I'm guessing you're going to more and more unique, abstract whiskey, so you don't have a lot of those entry level whiskeys that a lot of people would have in common.
No, you're exactly right. Yeah, dead on. I did cover quite a lot of I call them supermarket whiskies. You know, the kind of really entry level stuff. I did that years ago.
Yep.
And I don't really buy bottles twice because once I've covered them on the channel, there's not really much point in doing it again. So I tend to try
Yeah.
and buy, like you say, new interesting things all the time.
Yeah. Well, it's a good time for that because there's a new distillery opening. Seems weekly. So, all right. So, what's the first pour? Did you already make your first pour there? Is that the Deanston 18, or is that something?
Yeah, I went for the Deanston 18 just
All
because the
right.
other two are so peated. But
No, no, that's
um,
exactly where I was expecting to go.
yeah, even at normal price, it's
Yeah.
definitely excellent value. Especially when we talk these days a lot about age statements and things like that. You know, the age statements are getting more and more expensive and unattainable for the average drinker.
Hmm.
But to have an 18-year-old still at kind of sub 100 is good. But we're enjoying that. Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say it because when I first popped the cork, I was obviously very excited to receive this.
Yep.
When I first popped the cork, I didn't vibe with it straight away.
Hmm.
Didn't But then I'm looking for kind of really bold flavors at the moment.
Hmm.
Interesting cask finishes, and I'm looking for bourbons. You know, really good like high ABV bourbons. So 46.3%, ex bourbon Scotch is not. I don't want to say
Yeah.
boring, but it's not what I'm going for.
Hmm.
Um, but as the bottle's going
Yeah.
down, this is airing out nicely. This is really starting to open up to me more and more, and I just in love with it at the moment. I have to hide this at the back of the cabinet so I don't drink it too much.
Yeah, and that's kind of my experience too with it. When you first open it, it does take a little bit of time to open up. And I always find this is even better if you have like a nice opening whiskey that's low ABV, and then you jump into this because then you can kind of your palate's more acclimated. You can get some of those more subtle notes. And you're right. This is like an example of just like a classic old fashioned whiskey, no frills, just ex bourbon cask, good age on it, and it's got a nice sweetness to it. Nice those classic ex bourbon notes that you get with like the vanillas and whatnot. At least to my palate, it's just such a nice, easy sipping whiskey. So, during our discussion tonight, I've got a series of questions for you just to get to kind of know you, for the audience to know you a little bit better. Some are whiskey related, some are just for fun, some are about you and just in your career and whatnot. So, let's get kicked off with those. And any questions you don't want to answer, feel free to pass. And I think we discussed this a little bit the first time we spoke. But what do you do for a living? And I want to say it has something to do with electric batteries.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. I'm into I want to say the research side of electric vehicle batteries.
Hmm.
So I don't sort of I'm not really involved in like Tesla or anything like that, but we do disassemble industry cells just
Hmm.
to try and see what people are doing. and then we try and make formulations to kind of push that industry forward. So yeah, we're at the kind of like 10 years ahead of where we are now with electric vehicles.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know where you guys are in the US with that, but over in the UK we're really pushing forward with electric vehicles because we need that high range now.
What was your very first job that you've ever had?
Oh man, I mean, my first proper job, I used to be call center for a long time. Yeah, I sort of left home at 18, completely unskilled.
Yeah.
And just found myself answering phones for a living until I found better jobs, basically. But yeah, so just we have this thing in the UK called council tax, which is a monthly tax that you pay to your local governing body for, well, I mean, really for nothing, but it's for a lot of the services and things like that. But it's very expensive.
Okay.
So yeah, I used to have to facilitate that. What an awful job that was.
No, that sounds interesting.
So if you're at a restaurant and you're going to order an appetizer, what is the best appetizer to order?
Oh man, you can't beat something like just standard chicken goujons or something, like little bits of chicken, or sometimes I'll even have a soup or something like that. Yeah. I don't know, I'm not really that fancy, so
keeping it simple.
Just to keep it simple, yeah, and leave it to the main course. I'm a big fan of a big old main.
What is your favorite action film?
Okay, good question. I am a bit basic when it comes to that sort of thing, but I really like Die Hard.
Right.
It's funny because I've done this about 16-ish times now, and I would say almost half has said Die Hard is their favorite film, action film. And it makes sense though. It's like a classic, no CGI, action film. Just it's like this Deanston 18, no frills, just straightforward and a good movie.
And I have to say, I think like action films these days, although me and my wife, we enjoy what we call a trash action film, where it's like, it's just noise and there's no good story. But I don't think they do it as well these days as they did in the 80s. Like Fast and Furious is a great example. That's just getting utterly ridiculous every film that comes out. But yeah, you can't beat a good 80s.
Should we jump into our next whiskey? And if so, which one would you go with? The Ledaig or the Ardbeg?
I think for my money, I would go with the Ledaig first, just because the Ardbeg is a boggier, peatier monster.
All right, that's what I'll go with too. And again, we have two different Ledaigs we're trying here. Vin's going with the 18-year-old release number 3. I'm going with the standard 10-year-old. Yeah. So the 10-year-old is a favorite entry-level peated whiskey of mine. I like it better than most Islay entry-level peated whiskeys. I just think it has a little more depth and intrigue to it than those most peated whiskeys. Getting for $50 ish in the United States, that's a very good value.
Yeah, I forget. I actually didn't buy this one. I swapped it for a special release that you couldn't get anymore. And I got this for, well, the equivalent value would have been about £75, which is way cheaper than this would have been. Yeah. I mean, I think these ones are more challenging whiskies because they're. I mean, if you don't like peat for a start, then you're probably going to be out. But there's so many dimensions to something like Ledaig. It's not just peat. It's been influenced by loads of other things, especially this one, which has got a whole heap of. This is like sherry wood finish.
Yeah,
and you can see.
That's dark.
I'm not sure if this is natural color or not. I believe it is.
I think
it just says unchill filtered, but
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got all these extra stuff going on to it, which is just incredible.
Yeah, and I mean even the 10-year-old. I mean, it's like a different style of peat. Maybe it's like a dirtier peat than you typically expect. And it's just it's got such a nice nose to it. And I mean it's drinks so well. And one of my favorite peated whiskeys was a Ledaig. It was their 13-year-old port pipe matured. That one was just unbelievably good. And like you said, it's got so many layers that you want to unpeel and try to evaluate. Something that you take your time with.
Have you tried the Rioja cask as well? I think
I have not yet, but I've got a bottle of it. I have yet to open it. Have you tried that one?
No. Everyone keeps recommending it to me, and I keep forgetting to buy it. I always forget how much it is. I'm just gonna have a quick.
Yeah, take a look. I think it's pretty affordable. I think that was like even more affordable than their standard 10-year-old, maybe.
Yeah, I mean it's £33 here. So what we're getting on for $45, something like that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always say things like a great example in my day job. I'm on a training course this week.
Yeah.
There's 7 people in it, 7 delegates, and one of the guys has seen my videos
Oh, that's pretty cool.
before.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we haven't crossed paths before. We've never met, but he's seen my videos because he knows someone who knows
Yeah.
whiskey and has seen it in the background. And I was just like, that's just incredible. I can't believe the
Yeah.
reach of that.
Yeah, your celebrity status is starting to climb here. You're
Starting there,
you're
yeah.
starting to be a known entity.
It's been a long crawl.
No, that's pretty cool though.
Oh, that is really cool. All right, next set of questions. These are the whiskey-related questions. What was the first bottle of whiskey that really started you on your whiskey journey?
One I definitely have an answer for because I decided I was going to get into whiskey in my early 20s, and I was floundering on some basic stuff like the basic blends and like Glenfiddich 12-year-old and whatnot. For my 25th birthday, a Scottish friend of mine gave me a Old Pulteney 12-year.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, and I opened it and I had literally no idea what it was, never heard of it. And in my head, I thought there was like 5 distilleries at that point. And then I got on Google and tried to research this whiskey, and it opened the door to this world I didn't know existed. And I love the whiskey anyway. But yeah, it was rather than just the whiskey, it was my gateway into the kind of the nerd slope,
Yeah.
into whiskey, and suddenly realised there was this whole world that I didn't even know about.
Yeah.
But that was definitely my gateway into starting everything that I do now.
Yeah. And then you were
You were down the rabbit hole, and everything has changed since. I definitely can sympathize with that. What is your favorite distillery?
Oh, that is a good one. I've got favourites for all different kinds of things. I have to give a shout out to the Cotswolds because they're my local distillery. You guys should have got a good stock of them by now because they're run by an American guy, so they're shipping loads over to
Yeah.
to
Yeah. I haven't had any yet, but I heard great things about it.
Yeah, definitely. If it crosses your path, definitely try to because it's what they're doing in 4 years is astounding.
Yeah.
I think probably my favourite distillery experience so far, and I haven't been to many, is Glengoyne.
All right.
They have a very old school system, and they are like literally like where some companies are measuring levels in tanks electronically. They're literally using bits of wood and rope
Yeah.
to figure out how much they've got in tanks, and I just love that. They haven't changed their practices for 50 years, and yet somehow keeping up with social media and things like that. Yeah, I mean that's the thing when it comes to like no age statements or even age statements. The thing to remember is it's not the whiskey or the age that's important; it's the cask.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
important. When you make a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, a 12-year-old Glenfiddich, let's pick on that one again. The reason why they can make that so affordable, so consistent, is because they bang it in second, third, fourth fill barrels.
Yep.
So that it has very, very little influence over it over 12 years, and they can pretty much have a consistent output.
Yep.
But if you put that same spirit in a brand new oak barrel, it'll probably overpower it because that spirit has been designed to be sat in I want to say a lesser cask, but a reused cask.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays they'll do longer fermentation processes. They'll put different yeast strains in to bring a more powerful new make, which can stand up to new oak.
Yeah.
And they get a much more flavourful whiskey in 3 years. But it can be spirity.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely swings and roundabouts, and it requires a little bit more science than it used to, I think.
Yeah, no, and I love that description of it because it's so much goes into a whiskey. From every little detail can influence the end product. I mean that's why we love it so much, is because it's just fascinating how these products can vary so much, and they can have seemingly the same specs on 2 different whiskeys, but they can be completely different based on just the way the spirit was made, just the way the what barrels they use, and everything that you mentioned. Next question for you is, what is the best cask type to mature whiskey in?
That for me changes all the time. Something that this one taught me is that I really love smoke and PX.
All right.
Pedro Jimenez, and I didn't know that until I had this. That's something I'm trying to explore a bit now. I don't really vibe off sherry casks much.
Yeah.
Unless smoke is involved, I guess, obviously. So yeah, normal sherry casks, say normal unpeated whiskey. I don't really like so much.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of coming full circle. I know I said earlier about ex bourbon casks,
Yeah.
but done well. I'm really interested in that right now, and especially something I know. So okay, I've got wind of a release coming soon from an independent bottler I like. That they're doing a what did they say they're doing? It's like they're doing a single grain whiskey in an ex Isla
Interesting.
ex bourbon cask.
All right.
So it's had peated whiskey, it's had bourbon in it, then peated whiskey, and now it's going to have single grain in it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know how that's going to work,
Yeah.
but I want it.
No, exactly. It's something new. It's something interesting. So that would be something absolutely. And how many bottles are in your collection?
Right. Oh, so I mean, so every year in January I do a collection video. But actually the big thing was this year so end of last year, December, I moved house.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, you've got a nice collection behind you, and I've got my sort of shelf here. But I have bottles in the lounge, I have bottles here, I have bottles in storage. And I got them all together when I moved.
Yeah.
And I had 100 bottles opened and then another sort of 20 or 30 sealed.
All right.
But my wife wasn't happy. But I sort of say to her, I don't even scratch the surface on whiskey collections.
Oh,
You know, some of you guys have insane collections.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the lower numbers out of the people I've spoken to here. So that's a very reasonable, especially because you've been in the game for 5, 6, however many years you've been doing your YouTube channel. But yeah, you just tell your wife this is part of our passive income stream. You know, I gotta get them. You know, it's what we have to do.
That's it. And I try to share my bottles around a lot. One of my things I do is that when people I know come to my house, I just go into the cabinet. Nothing is off limits. Nothing. And pick 3 bottles, and that's our flight for tonight. And you can pick, if it's got 27 on it, you can pick it.
Yeah.
Because the ones I don't want people to pick, they're hidden, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So I kill a lot of bottles. I always say I'm a whiskey drinker for the whiskey drinker. I don't collect. I've got right now. I've got about 3 or 4 sealed.
Yeah.
Because at the time when I said I had 20 sealed, they were all my bottles.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've all gone now.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't tend to keep them sealed. I tend to, when I get them through the door. I take the seal off, and then it's done. Then it's the value is diminished and it's mine.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, my next question for you is, one bottle, only one, to have for the rest of your life. Which bottle are you picking?
One bottle for the rest of my life. Do I have to pay for it, or is it free?
You have infinite fun. Well, I guess within normal realms of whiskey, but yeah, I guess you can say free.
So probably, I'm just looking down at my list. A cheeky spoiler for something that's coming up soon. Probably the Bunnahabhain 18.
The Bunnahabhain.
Yeah, it's just constant quality. Like, I mean, so the reason, my thinking behind that is, I mean, I like cask strength stuff.
Yeah.
But I can't drink it all the time. And if I could only drink cask strength stuff, I would be an alcoholic before the month was out, without a doubt. So I'd need something, lower for sure.
Well, you can always add a little water to that cask strength stuff, bring it down to your 46%.
I never do though. I never do.
No. It's always better neat, right?
Yeah. So yeah, probably something like that. I think just like although I tend to gravitate towards non-Scotch these days, I would definitely pick a good Scotch.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a non-Scotch. It may segue into my next question here is, if you're not drinking whiskey neat, what's your next choice of alcoholic beverage?
I mean, generally a beer. I like IPAs. Nothing too heavy. I'm not a big fan of like stouts or porters or anything like that. Just a nice. There's a brewery near me called the Vocation. I say near me in the UK, called the Vocation Brewery, which I'm really enjoying right now. And you've probably heard of Brewdog. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
I enjoy a punk IPA, although less so. They're getting a bit big, I think. But yeah, I enjoy that sort of thing. But I really enjoy searching for craft spirits, craft beer. Sorry. So if I go on holiday or something like that, I'll always try and find a local brewery and buy some of their beers and take them home and see what they're like. Sometimes they're not that great, but sometimes they're.
All right, I think it's time to jump into our third and final dram of the night. We're both doing Ardbegs. Mine is the 10-year-old. You're going with the Wee Beastie since we didn't have two in common.
Yeah, I don't have the 10, which is weird. Not for a while. And I have to say, I don't know much about this yet because, I mean, as you'll well know, you can't know everything about a bottle. I bought this ages ago, but I haven't reviewed this yet, so it's in my review queue, ready to go. And I do my research before I do the video, so I'll be clued up on it when I actually do it. But yeah, I don't know what this has been aged in. I mean, I'm assuming a mixture of ex-bourbon and some sherry probably, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and the Wee Beastie, at least around here, has about the same price as the 10-year-old, and I can't imagine it's going to compete with that. So I've always been hesitant to pull the trigger because, you know, if I'm going to buy the 10 or the 5, I'm probably going to pick the 10. No, 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, it was so funny story to go a bit off piste for you. When I started getting into whiskey before I did my channel, I discovered that there was a whiskey festival near me, and I went with a friend. And at the time, I'd only had a handful of whiskies, and I went straight up to the counter, didn't know anything about anything, and I said, "Oh, I'll have an Ardbeg Ugadal, please."
Oh man!
And he gave me this thing, and I chucked it down my neck, and I almost threw up right in front of that poor guy, because I'd never tried a peated whiskey before.
Yeah.
And it took me, no word of a lie, probably about 3 or 4 years of constant trying peated whiskey to find a balance with it. And now I love it.
Yeah, no, and that's pretty cool too because most people who don't like peated whiskey, they struggle to come around. Like you know, I know some people who they've tried it dozens of times and they just can't catch, you know, they can't connect with it. So I'm so glad to hear that you actually eventually crossed that hump because there are so many wonderful peated whiskeys out there. To just cut out that entire category, I feel like you're missing out on so much.
Exactly that. And I tell you, what really did it for me was starting my channel on YouTube because I didn't like peated whiskey when I started the channel.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me very quickly when I had no viewers whatsoever that if I cut out that section of whiskey, not only am I alienating a whole bunch of fans already, I'm missing out on something. So I thought, well, I can't be called No Nonsense Whisky if I'm not gonna review all whiskies. I may as well call myself No Nonsense Unpeated Whisky if I'm gonna be like that. So yeah, so basically I powered through until I found some love with it, and now I reach for it. You know, like of an evening, not very often I won't reach for peat.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what one of my favorite follow-ups to peat is? Usually, you know, you start with your unpeated whiskey, and then you do something peaty, maybe higher cask strength peat. But I love finishing it with something sweet, like a cask strength bourbon or a rum right after a peated whiskey. It just cuts right through that smoke, and that sweetness in contrast is so nice. Not a lot of people do that, but that is a great 1-2 punch for me.
I'm gonna do that. I'm just looking around. I've got one rum in my thing, so once we're finished and I've finished my peat, I'm gonna do that.
All right. The next set of questions are kind of random, not necessarily whiskey related. Actually, before we get to that, how do you liking the Wee Beastie? Are you enjoying it?
I absolutely love it. I mean, I'm trying to give you a better example. So usually, I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Good. So usually when I come to review it, I've done the neck pour and I'm down to the shoulders. But you can see I'm down half a bottle, and that never happens. Before I've reviewed it.
So you're enjoying this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to review it soon so that I don't finish the bottle before I review it. So it's really good.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that review. That'll be a good one. What is the most unusual thing you've ever eaten? All right, one song to listen to for the rest of your life. Which song are you picking?
One song. Okay, I'm going to be cheeky and I'm going to sort of say 2, but yeah, basically it would have to be either something by Fleetwood Mac.
All right.
Or something by Linkin Park, which is
2 very different
contrast. Yeah. I don't know which one I would pick. Yeah, probably something like In the End by Linkin Park for like their first album. It's not my favorite of their songs, but if I've got to listen to it over and over again, then yeah. I'm gonna go with that one rather than kind of pick the other one as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, Linkin Park,
that's
favorite band.
no, that's a great song.
What is the most used app on your phone?
Oh, I mean, if not the YouTube Creator Studio, actually, I'll tell you what, most used at the moment, an app called Free Trade, which is a UK app, which it's basically like gives us free access to the stock market.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I've become like a bit of an amateur investor, very extremely low level, like
Any
laughably
tips you
low
can
level.
give the audience here?
Here, any secret stocks we should be investing in?
I don't think secrets. No, I mean, what I aim towards is I do dividend investing. So
Okay.
I only invest in companies that will pay dividends.
Yeah.
But I try to be ethical where I can as well. Like some of the best dividends, weirdly, is like cigarette companies.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
surprised they're still going, but
Yeah.
I can't invest in them. That's
Yeah.
and like oil companies, not into that. But yeah, like I invest in like Diageo and things like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So
That makes sense.
If you could choose anything to do for a day, what would you choose to do?
well, right now, probably play the PlayStation.
All right.
Because it has been so long since I've been able to sit and just do that.
What was the
But
last
that's a
game you
massive-
played?
So I'm currently playing Cyberpunk
Okay.
2077, but it's one of those games that you can only play for like an hour or two at a time. You can't put 15 minutes in. And I don't have that sort of time for it at the moment with the study and with the channel and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. So yeah, it's been a good 2 or 3 weeks since I've had a good play session. So
Yeah.
right now, that's what I'm after. A good day on that. That'd be lovely.
Yeah, no, I don't have the same commitments you do, but it's been a few weeks since I picked up my PS5 controller too. But and I know we chatted about this briefly on our DMs. I'm in the middle of Elden Ring, and that's obviously a demanding game. It's a very demanding game. But it's very rewarding when you do advance, though. It's an easier From Software game than most others because you can. It's an open world game, so you can run away when you're about to die. So it makes it a little bit easier to kind of navigate the game. But yeah, it is a demanding game. If you have to be patient and and be okay with your character dying a lot in order to be able to play that game.
See, everyone jokes at me because I'm what they call a serial easy mode gamer. You know, like if any game, even if I could probably be okay on hard, I'll play on easy
Yeah.
just to make sure I don't die all the time and repeat things.
Yeah.
I can't stand repeating things on games.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the minute I'll happily watch someone else who's good at it play Elden Ring, but I'm not going to play that.
The Uncharted series. Did you ever play those?
Yeah, I played all 4 of them.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, really enjoy that sort of thing like that. But like, well, I was going to say linear, but I really enjoyed what they did in 4, where they introduced more open areas.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that story-driven, scripted experience gaming. I love that. The funny thing is about Uncharted is I really hate the gunplay in it.
Yeah.
Like I found the first one especially, always made me laugh because you fight like a clan of like jungle militia.
Yeah.
Who apparently can throw grenades 20 feet directly at your feet.
Yep.
That really bugs me. That does because I don't know what they're practicing with, but they are snipers.
All right, so I know it's getting late there. You're pushing on 11, so I've got one last question for you. If you could share a dram of whiskey with 4 famous people, dead or alive, who are you picking?
Oh, 4 famous people. Who would I pick? I mean, I've managed to achieve quite a lot of those with like other whiskey tubers in the past. But that's a good one because that's probably right on the spot. It would have to be other YouTubers, I think, like not just whiskey ones, because that's where I put my time and effort is watching a lot of YouTube. So I think probably someone like Deanston from Smarter Every Day.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen that guy, brilliant channel. I'm going to class them as one, but Gavin and Dan from the Slow Mo Guys.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely those 2. Who else would I pick? I'm not sure on that one. No, I'm going to go with those 3. I'm going to have to like naff out on the last one because I don't want to go too much dead air. But yeah, I'm going to have to think about that.
No, yeah, think about it. Well, we can leave a seat at the table reserved for mystery guest number 4, and that's a good.
The 4th seat, let me know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. All right, so that was my 16 questions for you. And it's getting late there, so I'm gonna let you go. But I really appreciate you taking the time to share these 3 drams with me. I had a lot of fun. I hope we can reconnect on Instagram Live sometime in the near future, and then hopefully, in person at some point, either when you come here or I go out there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'll if I can make it work, I'll make it work. And fair play to you for pushing into YouTube as well. I know that's a difficult thing to push into, but
without a doubt.
Yeah. Hopefully your audience from over here will go over there and check it out, because it's definitely plugging a gap, which is kind of reviewing whiskey reviews.
Yeah,
which
that's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I really I enjoy that, because there's a lot of whiskey reviews right now, and a lot of people. We talk about it a lot in the background. Like me personally, I don't watch whiskey reviews anymore because I haven't got the time.
Yeah.
So having somebody to tell you which 5 whiskey reviews to watch this week, and I'm glad you pick me sometimes.
Yeah,
it's really lovely.
absolutely.
But yeah, definitely, if people are watching, especially from my audience, you should definitely check out Tim on YouTube as well as Instagram.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the feedback. It's been a few weeks since I've done one because I've been out of town, but it is something I'll continue doing, and it's something I enjoy doing. But I appreciate the feedback for sure. But
no problem at all.
Yes, but I hope you have a good night. Again, everybody who is still around, definitely go to No Nonsense Whisky. I always love watching your reviews. So have a good night, and we'll reconnect soon.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.